Why we remember bad things more easily. Dear viewer, why is it easier to remember the bad things in life rather than the good? And what do philosophers say about this? The human brain, a marvelous, maddening, and mightily mysterious entity, a miraculous blob of neurons capable of painting masterpieces, sending rockets to Mars, and, oddly enough, obsessing over that one time you tripped and fell over in front of your high school crush. Why does our mind insist on clinging to the awkward, painful, or downright unpleasant moments in life, while letting the joyful ones drift away like balloons on a blustery day? The answer lies in a quirk known as negativity bias, which has its roots in psychology, evolution, and even philosophy. According to Dr. Rick Hanson, the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. So grab a cup of dandelion herbal mocha mint tea or something stronger, and let's dive into the murky waters of why we're so darn good at remembering the bad stuff and what the great thinkers of history have to say about it. The evolutionary hangover. First, let's take a trip back in time. Imagine you're a nice and rarely naughty Neanderthal. You're out gathering berries, and suddenly you hear rustling in the bushes. Is it the wind, or is it a saber-toothed tiger with a hankering for a hungry man-human dinner? If you assume it's the wind and you're wrong, well, let's just say you've been catapulted from the gene pool. But if you assume it's a tiger and you're wrong, you live to gather berries another day. And if you assume it's a tiger and you're right, then at least you have a head start. Our brains didn't evolve to throw confetti and sing kumbaya. They evolved to prioritize negative information because in the wild, survival depended on it. Remembering where the predators lurked or which berries made you violently sick or hallucinate about talking squirrels was far more important than recalling the time you found an especially pretty pet rock and named it Irving. Fast forward to modern times, and our brains are still wired to scan for threats, even if those threats are now more likely to be an angry email from your boss than a terrorizing tiger. Neuroscience. Blame it on the brain. Neuroscience offers another layer to this puzzle. When you experience a negative event, your brain's almond-shaped amygdala, the part responsible for processing emotions like fear and anxiety, kicks into high gear. It's like a little alarm bell ringing in your head, screaming, "Code red! Code red!" At the same time, your hippocampus, the memory center, works overtime to catalog the details of the experience. This combo ensures that bad moments are stored more vividly and securely than their sunnier counterparts. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon is also at play. You know how sometimes you buy a new car and suddenly you start seeing the same make and model everywhere? That's not just coincidence, as that's the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon in action. Our brains are wired to notice patterns, and when we're in a negative state of mind, we're more likely to notice and remember negative stimuli. Social reinforcement is also at work. Let's face it, sometimes it's just more fun to commiserate with our friends about our shared misfortunes. When we're around others who are also focusing on the negative, it can reinforce our own negative thoughts and make them harder to shake. And modern research suggests that people with depression and anxiety have an even stronger negativity bias. Their brains are like those old-timey radios that only pick up static and bad news. Philosophers weigh in. Now that we've established why our brains are so obsessed with the negative, let's see what the philosophers have to say about it. The Buddha once said, "You will not be punished for your anger, you will be punished by your anger." Aristotle, the Goldilocks of emotions. Aristotle, the ancient Greek philosopher and original overthinker, believed that emotions were all about balance. In his Nicomachean Ethics, he argued that virtue lies in finding the golden mean between extremes. Fear, for example, is useful in moderation. It keeps us from doing stupid things like giving chin scritches to lions. But too much fear, and you're paralyzed. And too little, and you're reckless. When it comes to negativity bias, Aristotle might say that our tendency to focus on the bad is a survival mechanism gone slightly haywire. In the modern world, where saber-toothed tigers are extinct, our brains haven't quite caught up. We're still stuck in threat detection mode, even when the biggest threat we face is running out of dandelion herbal mocha mint tea. Epicurus, the original self-care guru. Epicurus, the ancient Greek philosopher and patron saint of chill, had a different take. He believed that the key to happiness was avoiding pain and seeking pleasure. Sounds simple, right? But here's the twist. Epicurus wasn't talking about hedonistic indulgence. He was all about ataraxia, which is a state of tranquility and freedom from fear. Epicurus might argue that our negativity bias is a form of self-sabotage. By fixating on the bad, we create unnecessary anxiety and rob ourselves of peace. His advice? Focus on simple pleasures such as good food, good friends, and a good nap. In other words, stop worrying about the tiger in the bushes and enjoy the berries. Schopenhauer, the ultimate Debbie Downer. If Epicurus was the life of the party, Arthur Schopenhauer was the guy sitting in the corner, muttering about how life is suffering. This 19th century German philosopher was the poster child for pessimism. He believed that desire is the root of all suffering, and that the best we can hope for is to minimize pain. Schopenhauer would probably nod sagely at the idea of negativity bias. Of course, we remember the bad stuff. He'd say, as life is mostly bad, but don't despair. Schopenhauer also believed that art, music, and philosophy could provide a temporary escape from the misery of existence. So, the next time you're wallowing in negativity, put on some Beethoven or Barry White and contemplate the futility of it all. You'll feel better. Nietzsche. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher with the most epic mustache in history, had a more upbeat take on suffering. He believed that struggle and adversity are essential for personal growth. That which does not kill us makes us stronger, he famously wrote. Cue the Kelly Clarkson song. Nietzsche might argue that our negativity bias isn't necessarily a bad thing. By remembering and reflecting on our struggles, we can learn from them and become more resilient. So, the next time you're obsessing over a past failure, channel your inner Nietzsche and tell yourself, this is making me stronger. Another reason we replay cringe moments. Why, oh why, do we feel the need to replay our most embarrassing or painful moments, like a terrible merry-go-round that never stops? One theory is that it's our brain's attempt to learn from the past. By analyzing what went wrong, we hope to avoid similar mistakes in the future. There's also the social aspect. Humans are storytelling creatures, and negative experiences often make for the juiciest tales. Nobody wants to hear about your perfectly uneventful trip to the grocery store, but they'll be riveted by your account of accidentally buying expired milk, and then the slap fight you had with the cashier. Drama, it seems, is memorable. Negativity bias in the age of social media. Dear viewer, today, negativity bias is alive and well and thriving on social media. Ever notice how a single negative comment on a post can ruin your day, while 100 likes barely registers? That's negativity bias in action, amplified by the dopamine-driven feedback loops of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok, X, and Snapchat, etc. Philosophers like Jean Baudrillard and Marshall McLuhan might argue that our digital lives have turned negativity bias into a full-blown epidemic. In a world where bad news travels faster than ever, and outrage is the currency of the internet, it's no wonder we're all a little more anxious than our cave-dwelling ancestors. But fear not, there's hope. Philosophers like Martha Nussbaum and Alain de Botton remind us that we have the power to reframe our experiences. By practicing gratitude, mindfulness, and self-compassion, we can counteract our brain's natural tendency to focus on the negative. To paraphrase de Botton, the task of philosophy is to make us feel less alone with our suffering and to help us laugh at it. How to fight the brain weasels. So what's the takeaway from all of these philosophical musings? Here are a few tips to help you outsmart your brain's negativity bias. Practice gratitude. Take a page out of Epicurus's book and focus on the simple pleasures. Keep a gratitude journal or just take a moment each day to appreciate the good stuff. Taking time each day to reflect on the things you're thankful for can help rewire your brain to notice the good stuff more often. Reframe negative experiences, channel your inner Nietzsche, and look for the lessons in your struggles. What doesn't kill you might just make you stronger, or at least give you a good story to tell. Challenge negative thoughts. When your brain starts dwelling on something bad, ask yourself whether it's really as important as it feels. Often, simply questioning your thoughts can take away their power. Practice mindfulness. This can help you become more aware of your thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. This can help you break the cycle of negative thinking. Limit exposure to negativity. In the age of social media, it's easy to get sucked into a vortex of bad news. Set boundaries for your screen time and remember that not every outrage requires your attention. Tell yourself it is okay to have bad memories. This is a normal brain function, and you're not broken because you remember negative events. Savor the good moments. When something positive happens, take the time to really savor it. Tell a friend, write it down, or just bask in the glow. The more you focus on the good, the more you'll remember it. Cultivate positive relationships. Surround yourself with people who support and encourage you. When we're around positive, uplifting people, it can help shift our focus away from negativity and towards the good stuff. Laugh at yourself. Life is absurd, and so are we. Embrace the chaos and don't take yourself too seriously. Horace Walpole said, "Life is a tragedy for those who feel, but a comedy to those who think." So why not choose comedy? The good, the bad, and the philosophical. Dear viewer, in this video, we've dived headfirst into the murky depths of why your brain seems to have a VIP pass to the Hall of Horrors and a Do Not Disturb sign for the Garden of Glee. We've learned that our brains are magnificent, squishy computers, and negativity bias is just one of the many quirky things that make us human. It's a reminder that our brains are shaped by millions of years of evolution. While it may feel like the bad moments in life have an unfair advantage, remember that your brain's negativity bias is ultimately a survival mechanism, and it's trying to protect you, not sabotage you. Philosophers like Nietzsche and Schopenhauer remind us that suffering is an inevitable part of life, and their insights also point to the possibility of growth, meaning, and even joy in the face of hardship. Sufi poet Rumi once stated, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." The key, then, is balance. Acknowledge the bad, yes, but don't let it overshadow the good. Celebrate your victories, no matter how small, and give yourself permission to bask in the moments of happiness that come your way. Life might be a mixed bag, dear viewer, but with a little effort and a lot of humor and dandelion herbal mocha mint tea, you can tilt the scales in favor of goodness. So let's get started.